what's up YouTube? It's Brady here, and in this video we're going to talk about my 5 biggest tips that you should know before you get into the sport of bodybuilding, before you go and buy your ticket for your next show, and before you step on stage. So let's get into this. So before you get into bodybuilding, you know, there's some prerequisites before we get into like my 5 main tips. So those prerequisites should be like, yes, you definitely need some muscle mass. If you haven't been training long enough, or maybe you're newer to the gym, maybe you're just not old enough and you lack muscle maturity, then now is not a good time to get into the sport. You know, this is a sport of bodybuilding. You do need a decent physique no matter which division you do, which brings me to the next prerequisite is know what division you're actually training for, because that'll highly dictate like what you're doing in the gym. For instance, myself and most of my clients, we are men's physique competitors. We really like the men's physique division, what the athletes look like, you know, the shape, the V taper of the men's physique division. You know, some people really like classic, and you know, classic is a dope division, but it's different than open bodybuilding. So you gotta decide which one you're interested in. You know, that being said, you can jump around. My first show, I actually competed in men's physique and also classic physique, just see what it was like and gain the experience from doing both. Now, I do want to be clear, you don't need a massive amount of muscle. I know that stops a lot of guys from competing, is feeling like, how are they going to compete, you know, against these giant guys? So then they just never compete, or they put it off for years and years and years. Yeah, you really don't need to be like Mr. Olympia size in order to do your first show. That being said, you don't want to just be like, you know, scrawny, you know what I mean? So have that base, but don't be afraid to just jump into it. But those are pretty much all the prerequisites, and now we're going to get into these 5 tips. The last one I will say is easily the most important, so make sure to stick around to the end of this video to find out that last key tip that I can give, and literally that's the best tip I can give you, so make sure to stick around. Now, number 1 is to be conditioned enough before you start your prep. So bodybuilding is an insane, extreme endurance sport. This is not the type of sport that you wake up one day wanting to do and then you pick a show a month down the road and then you do it. This is a show that takes time, and time is your best friend. Not only does it take time to build muscle, not only does it take time to like develop a good physique, but it also takes time to lose fat. That's why my number 1 tip is to be conditioned before you start your prep, because the last thing you want to do is start a prep where you're at too high of a body fat percentage and there's just no possible way for you to lose quick enough to step on stage and be conditioned. This is a sport of conditioning. Yes, you have to have muscle mass, but if you're not lean, it doesn't matter how much muscle mass you have. You could be the biggest guy on stage, but if you're not that lean, you have no chance of winning. You do need to be very, very shredded. And my biggest advice right here is to know that you're probably fatter than you think. And I don't mean that to insult anyone. You can be athletically lean and still not anywhere near as lean as you should be in order to start a successful prep. And also, you know, you don't want to have to lose 60, 70, 80 pounds for your prep. A good prep should be like, you know, losing 15 to 30 pounds. If you have to lose a little bit more, it's not the end of the world, but that's like, I would say, a sweet spot where not only are you making progress in the off season still, but you're not so far away from your stage weight that like you have to sacrifice a year just dieting just to get lean enough and lose a ton of muscle in the process and just not really enjoy life either. So a smart approach would be to spend an off season not only building, but periodically maybe throwing in mini cuts when necessary in order to maintain a decently lean physique, so that when you start your prep, you don't have to go crazy. You can nice and easy, you know, do 15, 16, maybe 20, 21 week prep, get shredded, compete, look your best, and then go back onto the off season. Don't overestimate how much weight you're gonna lose per week, because you probably won't lose that much. Maybe that first week you lose 5 pounds, but you're not gonna lose 5 pounds every single week for your whole prep. Towards the end, you're gonna be lucky to lose 1 pound. And even then, you don't always wanna lose weight that quickly at the end, or you're just gonna sacrifice muscle fullness and muscle size in general. So give yourself plenty of time. My second tip comes from personal experience working with tons of people and just being in the industry and having the opportunity to just talk to a lot of people. This happens a lot, but a lot of people compete for the wrong reasons. So number 2 tip I have for you is do not compete for the wrong reasons. If you want to just look good, if you are going on a vacation, if you want to do a photo shoot, you want to see how lean you can get, or you just I don't know, you want to impress girls or whatever it may be. Those are all terrible reasons to compete in bodybuilding. The reason being is you can look super good. You can be beach lean at like 12% body fat. Maybe, you know, if you want to push it, you can be 11, 10, 9% body fat. You'll look phenomenal. You don't have to sacrifice that much of your life in order to get that lean. But as soon as you start getting like 8%, 7%, 6%, 5% body fat, that's when your life honestly kind of starts sucking. And if you're doing this sport just to look good, you're going so far beyond just looking good. You're going to a place where, you know, physiologically we really aren't meant to be. So you will feel bad physically, you will feel bad mentally. After the show, you're going to have probably a lot of issues, and your relationship with food is going to be so bad that you're going to have to go through months of just like mental and physical recovery. So just to do this sport to look good, I cannot recommend you don't do the sport for that reason anymore, because there's just so much more to think about, and there's so much more to the sport than just looking kind of good. So if you are one of those people, you know, yeah, set a date for yourself, diet hard, but don't go as far as you need to step on stage. It's just not worth it. Number 3 is to know what you're actually getting yourself into. Now, this can happen a lot where someone might have an interest in the sport, but maybe they just don't really know that much about it. So they hop right in, and then they quickly realize that it is so much more than they signed up for. And this usually ends in people just not being lean enough on stage and kind of feeling down on themselves, or maybe just quitting along the way. So you really need to know what you're getting yourself into. This is a sport that truly takes over your life for a few months. And you know, I wish I could sugarcoat it, but there's no point. This definitely takes your life over. You know, you are literally controlling how many calories you're eating, and you are hungry day after day after day for months. At some point, you're gonna start kind of giving up a little bit on aspects of your life. So if you're someone who, you know, needs to be very present at your job or at home with your relationships, maybe you're a parent, or maybe you have like side gigs that really need your attention, or other sort of hobbies or responsibilities around the community, and all those need your attention, and now you're starving yourself and feel like crap, I can promise you that something in those other categories of your life are going to either have to take a back burner and be negatively affected, or you're gonna have to quit your show. So really know what you're getting yourself into, and make sure that you're in the position in life where you can maybe like pull back a little bit on some of those other things to focus on your prep full time. If you can't focus on your prep as much as the prep needs your attention, I would recommend just not doing it and maybe waiting for another year, or, you know, maybe a few months down the line when you are able to. Once again, I wish I could just say like, oh, you can do it all. It's no problem. This is a lifestyle sport, but honestly, it's not a lifestyle sport. It's a very like crazy extreme sport, and it demands a lot. And I'm just telling you outright that that's how it is. Now, number 4 kind of goes hand in hand with what I was saying earlier, but have an off season. Don't just wake up one day and decide, I'm gonna do a bodybuilding show in a few months. I can promise you won't be happy with the results if you do this. Have an off season where you're focused on that goal. Spend time in a surplus, build muscle, build up your appetite, you know, build up your metabolism, grow muscles in the areas that you need them. For instance, in men's physique, if you don't have good shoulders, if you don't have a V taper with big lats, then you probably shouldn't do men's physique quite yet. Have an off season and focus on those areas. If you want to do bodybuilding but you don't have big legs, focus on your legs. This will make you happier in the process because you'll feel a lot more ready. So take the off season seriously, learn how to grow in a surplus, and then you'll be ready for your season. Now, number 5, which is the most important one I can possibly say. Now, disclaimer, I am a coach, okay? So I'm not just saying this to be biased in one bit, but number 5 is to get a coach. This is the sport that you need the coach probably the most. Can you do it on your own? Yes, kind of, but I want to promise you a few things. If you do not have a coach, you'll either not get lean enough, or if you are able to get lean enough, something else will happen where you're not able to look your best. And I can speak from experience. I did my first show without a coach. Yes, I got shredded. I looked great, but I didn't look as good as I could have. and looking back, I saw so many mistakes that I was making, and I wasn't able to critique myself because seriously, you're kind of blinded. Like, I was able to coach my clients fine and see them clearly, but I couldn't see myself clearly. And I ended up making several mistakes that just wouldn't have existed if I had a coach helping me along the way. Now, coaches typically aren't that cheap. This is a sport that does cost money, but it's worth it. If you're gonna dedicate months of your life to something, sometimes even longer, then you wanna just do it right. I promise you, pay for the coach, listen to the coach, do exactly what the coach says because the coach knows best. They're able to see you and very objectively make the best decisions for you to look your best on stage. That's something that you will not be able to do yourself. You will not know what you look like in the mirror. You'll think you're fat when you're actually shredded, and you'll think you're shredded when you're actually kind of chubby, and it's just totally a mess. And making like small adjustments, especially during like a peak week or right before the show, you will literally lose your mind not knowing what to do. So this is when the coach is able to take all of that weight off of your shoulders and help you look the best, which is what we want to do. No one wants to work their butt off for a year just to look like crap on stage and say, well, maybe next time. It'll probably make you never want to compete again. So those are my 5 tips that you should know before you get into the sport of bodybuilding, whether it's men's physique, classic physique, bodybuilding. Even if there's some girls watching this, bikini, figure, physique, bodybuilding, all those things. Now, if this video helped you, make sure to go down below, hit that thumbs up. If you are interested in either off-season coaching or contest prep coaching or just lifestyle coaching, make sure to check out the link below, takeuncommonaction.com, and join our team. Thank you so much for watching this video, but we will see you in the next one. Peace out.